I can't remember who nominated Quake 3 Arena on Dreamcast for the Sega Guys review treatment. It might have actually been me, but this is a tricky game to evaluate. Do you review it as a modern experience, or on what it did back in the day, and on which control system? But hey, we love a challenge here at the Sega Guys, so let's get into it. Quake is a series that has a history with Sega. Lobotomy Software's Saturn port of the original game was something of a miracle, a PC tech marvel 2 years younger than the Saturn itself, which was somehow running on Sega's oft neglected hardware. Raster Productions had a sizable task of porting this PC behemoth to the Dreamcast, as although the Sega console's innards were more in line with PCs of the time, in terms of specs it was notably below the RAM, VRAM and CPU requirements. But first, what is Quake 3 Arena? Well, Quake is a first-person shooter series from the fathers of the genre, id Software. As you might have guessed from the Arena subtitle, this third game in the series relates to a deathmatch focus, specifically online competitive play, which was thought to have been the domain of the high-end PC. And that's why this port is so monumentally impressive. The titular arenas may be downsized to accommodate the lower player count, but visually, it's very faithful. It was in fact very comparable and, in some cases, even improved on some of the graphics on the PC version at the time, with higher quality texture work in some areas, but not all. The sheer fact that the £200 console, or perhaps even less at the time, replicated the PC experience so well is astonishing, and the changes and improvements made by Raster Productions are all pretty much perfect. The PC version is undoubtedly king, and, as id Software intended, even with regards to the updated textures, but as a console owner back in the day, this experience was revolutionary. The music is spot on too. It's all here in its spectacular 90s grunge rock glory. The music is complemented by some fantastic sound design where you can feel every frag, rocket and shotgun blast, all helped along by a nice array of voice clips. Of course, visuals and sound aren't the only aspects that matter when you're porting from PC. None of it matters at all if the gameplay isn't there, right? Well, thankfully, once again, this is as close as you can get to the PC. Online play was the focus here, and it is fantastic, though there are some caveats which I will come on to later. But yes, back in the console's heyday, getting 4-player matches online was super easy. It may have been a reduction on the PC Originals player count, and not quite the 6 billion players we were promised in the adverts, but it was still impressive. Even more impressive is that a patch for PC gamers was released, allowing them to play alongside Dreamcast players. As an early cross-play game, this is nothing short of incredible, and it really helps with the player population when playing on Sega's console. But cross-play would favour PC players, right? Of course, anyone playing on PC will have a distinct advantage over anyone using a controller. However, Quake 3 does support a wealth of configurable control options, with fully customizable controller mappings, as well as support for the mouse, which I don't have, and the keyboard, which I do have. Playing with the mouse and keyboard feels almost one-to-one with the PC experience, though I only played this emulated, so you're not seeing that here. The footage here is all captured from real hardware, where I'm only using the standard Dreamcast controller, and it gives you a flavour of what to expect. There's no aim assist at all for pad players, so you'll get absolutely rinsed online. Even playing against bots in single player mode is a challenge, as the DC pad with its single stick and lower button layout simply isn't ideal for the genre, so playing Quake 3 as it was intended becomes extremely difficult. The single player mode sees you go through round after round of enemies in escalating difficulty and number, before facing a boss and going through to the next tier. It's entertaining, for a while, and it's a neat addition that gives you some content and challenge for console players. id themselves said that single player mode worked well, as a trainer for online, which reminds us once more that it's an online focused game. The single player mode isn't terrible, it's perfectly fine, but it's not the focus of the game. And that is why it's such a tough game to review. In its day, playing online was easy and an incredible experience, even if most of the time you were just getting fragged to pieces. Playing Quake 3 Arena online today isn't straightforward on Dreamcast. The community is also a fair bit smaller, though they are very friendly. And if you're going to play this game seriously, you'll need the Dreamcast mouse and Dreamcast keyboard, which will set you back about another 50 quid. Quake 3 Arena was a revolution on Dreamcast. It did the impossible in so many ways, a brilliant port, functioning online, and even a 4-player split screen mode, which once again is simply amazing when you consider the game's origins. However, if you're not going to play online, and you're not going to play with a mouse and keyboard, you're probably going to want to take a star off the final score, because without those, it just becomes a fairly frustrating, though moderately enjoyable shooter.
While the Dreamcast was rightly lauded for bringing games into the home that matched or even exceeded their arcade counterparts, a major selling point of the console was of course online gaming out the box. And with Quake 3 Arena, Rastar Productions sought to bring id Software's PC experience to Sega's console, allowing players to frag one another over the internet on console for the first time. The Dreamcast was tooled up to take advantage of the game and offer a near flawless PC-like experience due to the official Dreamcast keyboard and mouse. While the original Quake had come to the Sega Saturn, its sequel launched just as Saturn was winding down in the West, but it did come to the PlayStation and Nintendo 64 in 1999. The first two games were focused more on single player action, but the third title, as the name suggests, is all about arena-based combat, hence the focus on online. The Dreamcast version of Quake 3 Arena at a glance looks impressively close to its PC counterpart. The maps included on Dreamcast have been shrunk down and reworked from their PC versions, taking into account the maximum player count of 4. The game modes on offer are standard fare for an online shooter, with Deathmatch, Team Deathmatch, Tournament and Capture the Flag. The player count on each map when multiplayer is played locally varies from map to map due to the constraints of the Dreamcast's memory, although 4 players are always available when connected online. And on the tailor-made Dreamcast Deathmatch and Dreamcast Capture the Flag modes, which include levels designed exclusively for the system. If you pick up Quake 3 Arena today and don't have the means to take the system back online, you'll be limited to playing against AI controlled bots, which becomes pretty boring pretty quick. Gameplay wise, all the power-ups, weapons and level hazards from the PC version are intact and the game zips along at a decent pace. The game can be played without a keyboard and mouse and cleverly uses the A, B, X, Y buttons as a pseudo-second D-pad, while the analog stick looks and aims. The right trigger fires the equipped weapon, the left trigger jumps, and the actual D-pad carries out commands like switching weapons with up and down and showing the current score by pressing right. Scoring this one today is difficult because the average Dreamcast owner or retro gamer won't have the means to take the game back online out the box. But it can still be done with the right equipment and know-how, and it is important to remember that. So scoring this then, I had to take into account what it did back in the day and its worthiness of your cash in 2024. It brought a household PC game to console, it blurred the lines between PC and console online play, albeit with stripped down levels. However, its basic single player modes out the box make this a hard one to recommend to anybody looking for a Dreamcast shooter in the modern day.